As you can see in the title, this is going to be the second part of the sea lion. It's going to be the flippers. Be sure to check out the first part of the sea lion so you can follow along with this video. I will provide a link in the info box. You see the bead that right next to the eye? You want to take the wire and thread it through it. Once you finish that, take your other wire and start adding on beads. Start off, you want to add 4 main color beads. Then take your other wire, crisscross it at the last bead. Once you pull it tight, you just make the first loop on the 3rd row. Take your right wire, thread it through the next bead. Once you have that done, grab your left wire and add on 3 main color beads. Yep, you only need 3 beads for the second loop. But you will see on the 3rd loop that you need to cross your right wire through 2 beads. Remember to follow these steps carefully, if not then your sea lion will come up very unproportional. Once you have that done, you should see there's 3 beads that's ready for the next loop. Take your left wire and add on 3 main color beads. Crisscross it using the opposite wire. Okay, now you should see there's 3 loops on the 3rd row. Your 4th loop requires your right wires to run through 2 more beads again. Go ahead and add on 3 main color beads on your left wire and crisscross it using the opposite wire. This bead is going to be very important because we're going to add on the first flipper. Once you crisscross the bead, take your current left wire and add on 2 main color beads and 1 tiny bead. And pull the bead as close as you can to the last crisscross bead. Take the same left wire again and thread that wire through the bead that's right next to the tiny bead, but just through that one bead, not the other bead. This is how it should look. One bead should be free from the wire. Use the same left wire and add on 2 main color beads. You see the last crisscross bead that my finger is pointing? That's where you're gonna run the left wire through. Basically, you're using the left wire making a giant loop on the last crisscross bead. There. I hope it wasn't terribly confusing. You just make your first flipper. Especially if you pull it tight, you should be able to see it. Now run your right wire through the next bead, which you only need to thread 1. Once you pull the flipper back, you should be able to see that you're getting ready to make the 5th loop. Take your left wire and add on 3 main color beads. And crisscross it using the usual technique. Okay, that is the 5th loop, and for the 6th loop, you need to run the right wires through 2 more beads. Once you finish that, just add on 3 more main color beads. That is going to be your 6th loop. And for the 7th loop, you also need to run the right wires through 2 more beads. Add 3 main color beads for the 7th loop. Remember to pull the loop tight, and for the 8th loop, you only need to run the right wire through 1 bead. Add 3 main color beads to the left wire and crisscross the last bead. This bead is where we're going to make the last flipper. Before we do that, we're going to prepare the last loop. It requires the right wires to run through 3 beads. The reason why I choose to do that is because if we make the flipper first, it's harder to thread the white wires through 3 beads. Okay, now we have that ready. Take your left wire, add on 2 main color beads and 1 tiny bead. Okay, use the same concept, take the same left wire, thread the wire through the bead that's next to the tiny bead and just that bead. Be sure to pull it tight as close as you can to the last crisscross bead. Okay, now with the same wire, add on 2 main color beads. Use the same wire and run it through the last crisscross bead. And there is your second flipper. Your second flipper should align with your first flipper perfectly. Okay, now for the last part, to close up the 9th loop, just add 2 main color beads to the left wire and crisscross using the opposite wire. Okay, now we finished the 3rd row and we also complete the flipper. Hopefully this wasn't terribly too hard. Next week we're gonna learn how to make the body. Well, I'm gonna see if I can squeeze in the tail. Of course, if only you guys don't mind 15 minutes video. Just let me know in the info box. Until then, may you be happy.